Hey, what's up? It's Kit back in our video. Today we're rigging a fast jig. And that fast jig is actually not a new one. It's been around for quite some time. This is the owner Cultiva Hyper Jig. Okay, so Cultiva Hyper Jig by owner. Okay. And we're pairing it up with an SJ41 size 11 O. We're gonna rig it single. Now, here's the funny thing. As I was going through all my assist hooks, I was like, man, if I doubled up 350 pounds, it'll be 700. That's close to 1,000 pounds. What if I found a cord that would be around there or more than that? That way, I know that if something's going to break, it's not going to be the assist cord. And what I found was pretty funny. It is actually a rudder line for my kayak. So, since it's going to be very difficult to splice, and it took me a while, and trust me, it took me a while, I took the liberty of doing it. So, the capacity of this is about 2,000 pounds, and we spliced it. Now it's 4,000 pounds. So, actually done it once before, but it was too short. So, what I want to do is get our measurement always, okay? And I wanted it to be around there. But it was too short. It was like that. Okay, and I didn't want it to be too short, so I want it there. So for me, the length for my fast jigs is always going to be about 1/3. Okay, so about 1/3 of the length of the jig, and that's right there. And I believe having your jig at the 1/3 mark gives you the most chances of the strikes, actually landing those strikes, and that's what's important. So the challenge is always going to be hitting that 1/3 or thereabouts mark, okay, like so, with the length of the knot compounded in, and that's the most difficult bit. So before we actually bind things, what we need to do is actually tighten this knot, and it's not an easy task. Okay, so you need to grip this hard, use your puller, and at the same time rotate this so that it's pointing away, and tighten. Okay. Again. That's as tight as I can make it. There we go. Now, I have to put it on the pulling tool, and then pull to jam the knot in the eye. Okay, so there's the knot. We're going to jam it there. Have the hook pointed away from you. Okay, wow. Oh, wow. All right, so that's it right there. Now, let's see if actually the length is just right. So that's perfect right there. That is perfect, because we have our solid ring here, up here, and our split ring. So it is perfectly at the 1/3 mark. Yep. Perfect. All right. And now we can bind this. Now, here's the thing. This is kind of too long, so we're going to cut it. Ow! Alright. Cut it just a tad bit. Right there. Now, the binding might be very trivial to a lot of people, but what it is it keeps this in place so that when you pull, this gets tightened. So that's very important. A lot of people think that it's just there for the kicks and it doesn't really serve a purpose, but it does. Okay. So just to show you, that's kind of thick right there, but without splicing, it's kind of thin. But obviously the size balloons. And hopefully what happens is that as we use it, it will tighten up. Now, there's a bit of fuzzies here, which I will just get rid by running a lighter. And that's it. Clean. All right. Now, I'm going to do this upside down so that I can see the point there. Okay. Now we're going to do our rotary function. Okay. Okay, so now that it's bound, what we can do is put in the binds that would hold it. Make it as neat as possible. And I don't have to remind you that we are actually pressuring this so much that the vise is actually starting to turn. Okay, now we go back here. Now I am wrapping this so that it doesn't unravel from the back, like so. As you can see, that is neat. We build it up, go back, Sure those wraps are good. Okay, now I'm going to bring you in so that you see exactly what I've done here. As you can see, that's pretty neat. And then I'm going to make an exception here, because I do realize that this is kind of something unique, at least for this series. So we're going to actually glue this together so that you see exactly what happens. So my super glue here, and one tool that I love using is just a wiper blade, and put your super glue. Okay. Okay, we put our super glue, and put a liberal amount because it will get absorbed. It helps if you put in the gaps near the hook as well. Okay, as soon as we actually put, you'll find that it's going to run. So you have to turn your vise so that it gets distributed evenly. Okay, there we go. So you can see it forms a nice coat. If you don't have a rotary vise, it's going to be very difficult to do this, but since I have it, I'll use it. But this is one of the ways to actually distribute your glue, and it doesn't have to be super glue, but in this instance, you can see that I used a lot. And when you use a lot, it tends to run. But if you turn it, it's going to get evenly distributed. And you can see that it forms a very nice coating on there. Not a single drip. It's still going. Okay. Okay, so that's slowly going to dry up, but turn it for a few minutes just to be sure. So we'll do about a minute of this just to be sure. There's a spray that I use to activate this and literally flash dry it, but the problem there is if I use that, it won't be as clear, and there's gonna be some white stuff. So I'm just gonna wait until things don't move that much anymore, and then what I will do is I'm gonna set this aside and put it somewhere where there's no moving air. And once it's done, it would look like this whole thing was epoxied in. There we go. But as you can see there, that is super clean. So you guys saw something that isn't normally shared. And this is why I actually use up a lot of super glue, because I just put it, and sometimes I use the wiper blade and just spread it around, okay? But if I want it to have like a real coat, I put a lot and then just spin it so that it does not run all over the place. As you can see there, looks pretty good. And I'm gonna actually show you. Look at that. You can see how clean that is. So when it completely dries up, that's all encased. But the secret is a rotary vise, a fly tying technique that I've learned a long time ago. Now, when I use super glue in the heads, I put a big drop, and instead of spreading it around, I just turn it until it dries, and the heads are super perfect and super tough. And it does the same on this. All right, so that's actually quite okay. It's not dry. I'm gonna zap this just so we could work with it. All right, so I zap this with accelerant, and that's completely dry. Okay, now it's just so, but if you look at it, it looks like it has a plastic casing, and luckily it didn't really wipe up too badly right there. All right, so just so we could actually mount it on the jig. All right, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and mount it on the jig. Now, here's the thing. This thing, it is the connection of this is straight to your solid ring, and you don't really need to put a load-bearing split ring on this, okay? But it's still nice to put something that's tough there. Now, for me, I always have a conscious mind that all these things actually do carry some form of weight, except for fast jigs. When you actually put them there, all you need is a split ring that would be able to hold the weight of the jig and the pressure it creates. So I usually put a medium-sized split ring there, kind of thin, just so I preserve a bit of length on this, because that is not load-bearing. As soon as the fish bites, you're fighting from the split ring or solid ring right there, and the split ring has nothing to do with it. And this is what makes fast jigging so nice. Okay, so there's the rig. You can see sticking out proud, and that thing's not gonna break. My arm's gonna break before this cord is gonna break. Obviously, teeth will break it. This hook is probably gonna bend before this snaps, so that's quite funny. But I quite like the size. It somehow feels a bit proportional, you know. I just found that even 380 was kind of thin. So there we go. If you have questions, please drop in the comment section. As you know, I always answer the comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Share if you care, so that people would know the channel. And if it's a useful video, your friends might be wanting to learn it as well. If you're not a greedy bastard, subscribe if you haven't yet. And that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Class dismissed.